welcome back to the channel. Tamara here. Today we're going to be working still and again with the Hocus Pocus pattern from the Club Grace subscription for October. Now this is actually the third video installment for this particular design, so if you're interested in seeing the reversible witch's hat and how to create your own flying broomstick, please check for that link in the description below. With the box opening for the Club Grace subscription, I put out the first video which shows you how to make the sleek fitting pantsuit. Today we're going to be constructing the Bolero jacket from the Hocus Pocus pattern with the draping lace sleeves. Please stay tuned to the end of the video because I want to show you a little trick on how to convert that Bolero jacket into everyday wear that looks fantastic. Before we get started with construction of the Bolero jacket, I want to let you in on a little secret of how I apply that lace overlay to the satin pieces for this pattern. So here's a quick tip of what I found to be an effective way to apply a lace overlay to a pattern. As we get the additional pieces of the Hocus Pocus pattern constructed today, I'm going to be using the cover as a reference to which pieces I want to actually apply that lace overlay. In an additional video, I have shown this product before, and it's called 505 Temporary Adhesive Fabric Spray. As with any product, I recommend that you read the instructions carefully on the back before you actually go ahead and do this method. Once I've decided I'm going to use that adhesive spray as the option to get this lace overlay attached, I want to go ahead and select from the pattern the pieces that I'm going to need to attach the overlay to. So I've cut the fabric into two reasonable pieces, and I'm actually going to go for this as the final effect. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure both the lace and the fabric are ironed flat, because you want to make sure that they have a nice, even, smooth point of contact. The next thing you're going to do is cover your workspace as I suggested, and this is just a plastic bag. I'm going to give a quick shake to the can, and then I'm going to spray the adhesive on the actual satin and carefully lay the lace on the top. Now, one thing that I found to be really effective is once you have that adhesive sprayed on and the lace attached, after you give it just a second to set, then I go ahead and run over it with my actual iron. So you want to make sure that you place it on there without creating any type of ripples in the actual lace. So once we have the fabric adhesive attached and our lace is looking pretty good, we're going to just draw that out of the way and remove that plastic. Now it is going to have some sticky stuff left on it, so make sure you discard it so it doesn't get on any of your other projects. And I'm going to use a Teflon ironing sheet in between to protect my iron from any moist adhesive that may be left. And then I'm just going to take my quick iron, run over it, and I find that this cures that adhesive to the fabric a lot quicker, so I don't have to wait. And that's it. Now you can use this piece as one piece going forward without having to bother to attach the lace overlay to each individual piece. So from there, let's go ahead and get this pattern cut out and get to sewing. The coat is constructed using 5 separate pattern pieces. The first is actually the draped sleeve made out of that black lace. The additional pieces are the back of the coat, the front of the coat, the collar, and the sleeve, which all have the lace overlay using the method shown previously. Now that we've identified the pattern pieces for the actual Bolero jacket, let's go ahead and get this construction started by sewing the front sections to the back at the shoulder seams. Let's go ahead and get those shoulder seams pressed open, and then we'll start to work with the sleeve pieces. Before we actually get to the sleeves, let's go ahead and take that collar piece. We're going to fold it with right sides together and sew both short ends. We're going to trim that seam allowance, turn the collar right side out, and give it a press. With the collar turned and pressed, we're going to take some clips in towards the raw edge of that collar, as well as around the neck opening of the actual top. And then we're going to set it in place 1/4 of an inch from the raw edge right here. So you can do that 2 ways, one by finding the center of the collar and the center of the back and starting the pin there. But since I've sewn this pattern several times, I'm actually just going to place it about 1/4 of an inch from that raw edge and sew it in place. When you're basting the collar, you can use a little bit longer stitch, and that way if you have to make any adjustments, it won't be quite so hard to reposition the collar. Once you have the collar basted in place, you do want to confirm that you have an equal distance from the raw edge of the front of the Bolero. That's where we're actually going to place the snap to close the front of the jacket. So check both sides just really quickly to make sure that the basting went well. And if everything looks good, we're going to go ahead and turn our attention to the sleeve pieces. There's going to be 3 steps that we need to make to the sleeves before we're able to inset them into the jacket. So since we're using that drapey long lace for the sleeve, the first thing I'm going to do is hem this lower edge of the sleeve. And I've used this type of lace before and have had good success with just running a zigzag stitch along the raw edge, just to give it a little bit of a hemmed effect. Some laces you may not have to hem at all. Other things you may want to actually turn up. You really just need to consider the fabric that you've chosen. After we get that narrow hem placed in the bottom of the sleeve, we're going to run a gather stitch along the flat top edge, and that's actually going to be pulled to fit the bottom of the actual sleeve. Then our actual upper sleeve pieces, we're just going to run a quick base stitch or a gathering stitch along the sleeve cap. That's really going to be pulled gently to just ease the sleeve into the armhole opening. So let's get those 3 steps done and we'll move on to the next step. So with those 3 steps done, the next thing we're going to do is take the actual lace flounce for the sleeve and pull those gathers to fit the raw hem edge of the sleeves. We're going to pin it together and then we're going to get those seams sewn in place and we'll move on to the next step. Once you have the sleeve flounce attached, what you're going to do is just take that over to the ironing board and press that seam up. Next, we're going to grab the exterior portion of the Bolero and gently pull that basting stitch around the sleeve caps and ease it into the armhole opening. All right, with both sleeves set into the actual jacket, we're going to turn the jacket right sides together and sew this side seam. With both of the side seams sewn, we're going to clip in towards that seam allowance and turn the jacket right side out. So here's where the construction of the Bolero jacket is so far, and I think it's coming together great. As you can see at this stage, that lace overlay has really stayed attached to the satin, which I think has been a real advantage to putting this actual project together. So off camera, I went ahead and I took the lining pieces to the Bolero and I just sewed them together in the exact same way that we constructed the exterior portion of the coat. The only variation is that I turned the sleeve lining up 1/4 of an inch and gave it a press so that when I actually sew the two pieces together, I can hand finish that together right here above the lace. So what I'm going to do now is take the lining with right sides together and pin it to the actual jacket. You do want to be careful that you have the sleeves and the collar tucked in and sandwiched in between the two pieces very carefully, and then we're going to sew up and around the neck opening and around the back, and we're going to leave a small opening in the center back for turning the jacket right side out. Once you have the external portion of the jacket sewn, you do want to check both sides before you trim in towards that seam allowance in case you need to make any adjustments. So I'm looking to see if there's any tucks or puckers in any of the outside lining, and it appears to be pretty good. I'll have to check right there to make sure. And the sleeves are free, which is really important on both sides. So once you think you've done a pretty good job, you can trim conservatively in towards the curved edges and also around the part that will be the point where the snap goes at the front of the top. I do caution you that when you are trimming the seam allowance, you make sure that area that you're going to hand finish, that you don't trim off any extra there. It'll make it a little bit easier to go ahead and tuck that opening right back into the jacket. All right, you can kind of see the shape coming together. Let me grab my iron and iron around the exterior portion of the jacket, tucking the turning area in so that I can hand finish it. We're going to grab that needle and thread and we're going to finish that opening as well as baste the sleeve lining to the sleeve at that seam. Once we have that in place, we're going to add one single snap and maybe a button at the top, and we'll get some photographs of our Bolero jacket with lace sleeves. Please stay with me till the end of the video and I'll show you how you can easily convert this witch-like jacket with drapey sleeves into a very fashionable jacket just by adding a little bit of a length to the actual upper sleeve. Let's go ahead and grab our doll and get a few pictures and see how this Bolero jacket turned out. Well, we've made it to the end of another sewing tutorial. This is the third of 4 instructional tutorials for this particular pattern. If you're interested in seeing the construction for the reversible witch's hat and that flying broomstick, I have made a free pattern available for Nima and Elowen so they can get in on the fun. Please check for that link in the description below. Now, as promised, I want to show you a little trick of how to convert that witch's style Bolero jacket into an everyday wear jacket. I was able to create this fashionable animal print Bolero to go with Grace's great booties by adding 2.5 inches of length to the upper sleeve. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this information encourages you to use this Hocus Pocus pattern for many, many more events other than just Halloween. Please list any questions in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next video.